Crypto is crashing, and boy, this is the painful part. But we didn't have the euphoria, which kind of sucks. Now, what are we doing? What's going on? What crypto is actually pumping compared to all the others? We're going to talk about that, and we'll get into all that today on Frugal BC. What's up? Shout out to Everyday Algorand, says GM. He says, by the way, it looks like there should be some background music, but I don't hear anything. Nope, we don't have any background music for that. Probably should get some, actually. It's probably a good idea. But no, there's not. It's just a video, just something, a waveform, just to make it look like something is going on. Green Blue Algo here. Good morning. What is going on? Good to have you here. And BBB says good morning. Welcome. Good morning. Welcome to the show. Thanks, everyone, for being here. And you do have one that I will be sharing. We'll kind of tease it in the intro section, but we'll include that in our Algorand section. It's actually an Algorand asset. If you follow me on X, you probably already know what I'm talking about. It's pretty obvious. For those that don't, well, you're going to learn something new today. Well, let's see here now. And I got a really interesting segment I want to do on the Wolf of Wall Streets. Green Blue says some lobby time music. Yeah. Yeah, it's always hard because you got to find something that is, and then you got to set it up in OBS. It can be kind of tricky. And then the other part about that, boy, my speed is right. My kbps is kilobytes per second is really low. Ooh, we got Stacy Cole in the lobby. What's going on? Good morning. Got a little thread there. I know what that means. It's a little inside trick for us, but very lovely lady in the chat this morning, who I'm rather fond of. And yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in. We're gonna go through the markets because, man, it's painful. It's painful right now, but this is when you buy in. When it should hurt. It should be it should feel like you're throwing money into a wood chipper. That's when you know you're doing it right. Or you just DCA all the time and you don't even think about it. Also a very good strategy psychologically, in fact. But yeah, we're getting a nice little audience this morning. So I don't know, maybe we should just go right to the charts. Let me pull those up. Let me check on something first. I'm trying to send a podcast out. Okay. And we'll give a shout out to our sponsors a little bit later. In fact, maybe I'll do that right now while I'm setting up here. Big shout out to Haystack, and I've gotten a wave of referrals from Haystack lately. So some of you guys have been downloading the app and using it, and it's pretty cool. You can download it yourself and do all the trading. One of the simplest, easiest ways to trade on mobile is the Haystack app. So check that out, and you can start referring people, and then you get a little cut of their trades. So highly recommend that. Get that in the description below if you want to support me. By the way, we are live on YouTube, on X, and on Kick.com. Usually the audience on Kick is pretty small, but our audience for YouTube is growing, and X has been pretty huge. Still waiting for them to monetize that, by the way. And also, by the way, besides being on X, I am on, in fact, I'll just show you guys this here. Let's see how this comes through. I am on CoinMarketCap. Pause the Napster DL for frame rate. Napster DL. No, Napster download. No, I'm actually sending out a podcast in Napster. Nice. Anyway, yeah, I am on CoinMarketCap, and I am in their, I don't know what they call it, the preferred program or something like that, but you can follow me there. Well, I got nothing. Apparently my boost is over. Here I had one that I sent out, and it got 24,000 views, and now the Alpha Arcade one got 4, and the latest one I did about Algorand's payment announcements got no views whatsoever. So interesting. Yeah, I don't know. You're supposed to get a boost by being in their verified program, and it was working and just stopped. But you can follow me there if you want to see stuff too. Otherwise, X I'm most active on. I try to post here about once per day. Anyway, there's that. And then I also want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Marcus Aurelius. Let's pull up Marcus really quick. Give me a second here. I think this is a really good founder. So let's go back here. There's Marcus Aurelius, you can join the little Stoic army. Kitty cats and crypto and Roman history all combined into one. What's not to like? What's not to like? Spreading the word about Stoicism. You know, me and the founder, we've had talked about Stoicism and how important it's been in various aspects of our life. I'll tell you, I definitely needed some Stoicism when I became a full-time entrepreneur, because that is very stressful indeed. It's a lot of ups and downs. You know, it's not so steady like a job is. Now, jobs have their own stresses, and you know, that's part of why I got away from that. But anyway, I'm a huge fan of this project, and you can join this little Stoic army by buying some. You can join their Telegram, where they're most active, or their Discord. Get a little. If you go to their website, you get a little Marcus Aurelius. You get a little some Stoic quotes. Here's one from Marcus Aurelius. And there's a whole cast of crews here. We got Marcus Aurelius, we got Senecat, and we got Epictetus. So that's very exciting. Anyway, I'm a big fan of this project. So you can get the Marcus coin on any of your favorite exchanges, including Haystack. So there's how we can just tie the two together. But anyway, that's my little pitch. And for our sponsors, we appreciate them supporting us. And otherwise, we should get to the news. So first off, the standard is, you know, crypto not looking so great. Bitcoin down 14%, Ethereum down 16%. Bitcoin is at 83,300, just above 83,000. Ethereum below 3,000 again, only 2,700. That is pretty wild. You know, everything's falling. What's fallen the most over the week? Actually, here's who do the best over the week. It was Starknet, MYX Finance, Aster again, and Pi is actually up on the week. There's a few. Zcash is up. Telcoin, don't know much about that one. You just said Leo, barely, and then yeah, we're kind of into our stable coins. Which, by the way, that's a lot of stable coins now. And then, how many do we got here? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 stable coins in the top 100 market cap. By the way, average RSI, we are way oversold. Now, what does that mean? RSI, relative strength index, oversold means way more people are selling than buying. That's all RSI means. And we are also in extreme fear territory. Like I said, usually when you see that, now it doesn't mean they're not going to go down more. So we're going to get into this because I think Scott Milker had a really good post this morning about conviction and thinking long term and thinking like a bull versus thinking like a bear in some ways. You know, if you're long term bullish, then these are opportunities. If you're short term bullish, not so much. But speaking of bearish, this Canton one really fell a lot. Now, this is one that worked its way up into the top 100 virtually overnight. Hadn't heard of it. Morpho, too. I hadn't heard of that one. That's a new one up there. A story I've seen before. Celestia at 26. Rituals Protocol. Oops. I might be echoing myself a little bit there. Sui at 24. Everyday Algorand says I sent you some tips in vote. Now, when you have more than 1K, you'll receive staking rewards. Well, I appreciate that. So I don't have to actually stake it, huh? Now, Sui, like, I was way up on Sui. I definitely took some profits. By the way, I want to talk about this, and this is a good time to talk about this. About a year ago, I was way up on several of my bull run portfolio cryptocurrencies, and people just shredded me for for taking profits, selling some and taking profits. They're like, that's way too early. When you're up and you're up a lot, you take profits. You got to lock in those profits, because this is what happens. I'm way up on my bag now. So even now, well, it's probably gone. It finally fell below 100%. It's probably actually a bit lower than that now, but it could all go to zero and my portfolio would be in profit. Not by much, by a few hundred, but it would be up. So it's completely de-risked. And by the way, everything here, the odds of something in the top 100 going to zero, unless there's a except for like maybe the platform coins are pretty low. So yeah, otherwise Ondo took quite a bath. I might have to go back into Ondo a little further. Near at $1.87. That's getting close to like where I bought it. It might even be under. I actually might be under on my near right now. What else? Anything else I care about here? SWE I'm still up on, but not by much now. Yeah, even Hedera sitting at about 12, just under 13 cents. And Algorand at 13 and a half, just a little over 13 and a half. So that's interesting too. Yeah, that's how it goes. Even Chainlink down to like $12. I have bought a lot of Chainlink at around $6. I should hang on to that a little more. But anyway, that is the winners and losers today. Why don't we go over to our Algorand assets. And I want to draw your attention to Alpha Arcade. Now I'm going to talk about this more during the Algorand segment, but this is like the one coin that on the week, now everything's fallen. It's actually fallen a bit. My $100 of Alpha Arcade at one point was about $650, back down to below 600 now. I think it was 5 something, probably a little lower now that it's been dropping, but up 65% on the week. Can we, hold on a second. Here, I'll make that a little bit bigger. 65% of a weekly gain. Now, as you can see, starting to tap off a little bit, and we'll see what happens. But there was 3 actually before. Now, Haystack and Folks were also in the gainers category not that long ago, just yesterday. Now back down a little bit, so kind of a bummer. But Haystack, of course, being a sponsor of the channel, and I think Haystack took note of what Alpha Arcade was doing and created their own burn mechanism as well, which I think was smart. Let me get a little coffee here. Let's see, Ustray 5902 says CoinXX network is under 1 cent. Read the white paper, guys. Yeah, we'll see. Again, no compelling case. You guys, when you guys if you guys are going to talk about a coin, that's fine. Make a case for why we should care. Wow, this is 75 now. That just flipped while we were talking. Alpha was 65, now it's 75%. So it must have came back up a little bit. Yeah, 2.7. So it just changed, but and then I think folks seem to have pretty good tokenomics too. I'm a little shocked. Well, it's a really low supply, so I can see why it's so high, but that's what's going on. Otherwise, a big sea of red in crypto. I'm kind of curious about DeFiNet. I've been hearing more about that. I think that's the one I was looking at. Apparently it does something with arbitrage bots, which I'm kind of fascinated by. Might have to look into that a little more. And then let's go to Hedera. And if anyone knows a better, something very similar to Vestige that we can look at. Whew. Yeah, it's a bloodbath on Hedera. So there's nothing that's like unlike, and we are looking at 24 hours. So you don't really get to see first off, they should have the 24-hour thing here so you can see what it is, but that would be nice if they had 24 and 7-day on here. I really would love it if they would evolve this to look more like Vestige does, because Vestige has these really nice charts. It's really laid out well. And yeah, but look, Sauce way down. Head Starter down 26%. That's a big drop. Even HBAR Suite down 10.6%. But yeah, Sauce, Growth, Pack down, HBARX down. I gotta tell you, I've tried to get a couple people from Hedera on. So wishy-washy. I just I don't know if I want to do interviews anymore. I'm so sick of wishy-washiness. There was someone that reached out a while ago too that wanted me to have them on their channel, and I said, I reached out, I said, hey, that offer still stands, why don't we do it? And he said, hey, can you do Sunday? And Sunday's kind of a bad day, so I'm like, well, can we do it Monday, or can we do it Monday, or if not, let me know. I'll try to see if I can make Monday work. or make Sunday work, and they just like never respond. It's like, I just don't get why people are so wishy-washy today. Like a Tune FM at 13%. So, I don't know. They're fun to do, but honestly, they don't really get a lot of views. They do have nice replay value though. So I don't know. I've got someone from Para coming on soon, so that'll be fun. I think that one will pan out, but it's just like, I just don't want to put the effort in to have people try to like set stuff up with people and then they just flake out. It's just very irritating. So if you flake out on me, like I'm just not going to reach out to you again. Anyway, Eustace says you care about it as his directly working on security for quantum, of course, long-term project. He wrote the white paper. Who's he? What? Who is he? Oh, David Chom. Okay. He wrote the white paper on Bitcoin back in 1980. Okay, well, if you have a link to that, I'd be happy to see. I don't know if I buy that. Anyway, yeah, the story really is a huge bloodbath in the markets today. So that's fun. But, and I think we'll just start getting to our segments and see what we got here. But just give me a second here to pull them up. Actually, I think I might start, well, I'll start with Algorand, I think. Let me get my coffee. Everyday says Hedera really does not have a better asset explorer. I would love to find one. If someone, well, I wonder. Let me check out. I'm gonna check out Saucer Swap. Maybe. Nope, I don't think they have that. Features. Top pools. That's not really. I'm just trying to see if Saucer Swap has something like that. Swap tokens. They kind of do, but not really. They have a way to search for them, but they don't really have like a CRC 20. Yeah, that's really too bad. That would be a. I thought Saucer Swap looks like it has the ability to, because they have. Well, I'll just show you guys. Like they have like a hot and a new. So like if they just took this and extended it out for like a top, they just have to add market cap, and then they would be able to do this. So yeah, I would love if anyone in the Hedera world knows where we can find. If anyone knows where we can find a Hedera asset explorer that's similar to Vestige, I would love that. Green Blue Algo says, I know FrugalBC is excited for ISO 20022 Saturday switchover. Hey, listen, I am not like anti ISO 20022, just to be clear. Like, I think people, I don't like dishonesty. I don't like BS, and the whole ISO 20022 compliant coin is total BS. It's total BS. So the claim. Okay, yeah, turn me off if you don't like. Again, share a link. If you got a link, I'll happily look at it. Otherwise, yeah, you can turn it off. That's fine. So this guy that's shilling this coin says, "LOL, bro, are you serious? He is the grandfather of crypto. Man calls himself an expert." Did I call myself an expert? Did I? I don't remember calling myself that, but does not know David LeMayo. I am turning you off. Okay. All I did, I said, if you got the white paper, share the white paper. It is total BS. 100% agreed. Yeah. There's no such thing as an ISO 20022 coin. So what are we talking for people who are tuning in who are like, what are you talking about? ISO 20022 is a bank messaging standard, and it's replacing the old Swift messaging standard. So it's basically a syntax for banks where they send messages to each other. And a lot of these are like, you can send payments through messages. This is where it gets complicated. It's a syntax for that. So it's like code basically, okay? And first off, there is nothing to be compliant to. It's not a compliance standard. It's just something people are going to be using. But there's supposedly this basket of cryptocurrencies, and Algorand and Hedera are supposedly two of them, along with XRP, Stellar, Ondo, I think too. Ondo is one of them. And anyway, so people are claiming that these things are ISO 20022 compliant, but the problem is there's nothing to be compliant to, and there's nothing within the chains that says that this is actually there's nothing in the blockchain itself that has anything to do with ISO 20022. Nothing. Which people think there is, but there isn't. Okay. And how do I know this? Well, people from those chains have told me that. So John Woods famously on our show has talked about it. And it started off with Stacey Warden, the CEO of Algorand. She was asked about this and she's like, I don't know what that, like, I know this is going around. I don't know where it comes from. It's total BS. It's weird. I don't know where that comes from, but it's total nonsense. The chief engineer of XRP, who is now the is now the CTO of Algorand, also said this back in the day when he was at XRP. Another one of the supposedly. Okay. Yeah, so we're getting there every day. We're getting there. So there's nothing inherent about the blockchain. So there is no compliance. Now, every day says, but technically you can make the app which connects to the blockchain and is ISO 22 compliant. Okay, well, it's not compliant, but it would use that syntax. Compliant is, there's nothing to be compliant to. It's not a compliance standard. It literally says that on the ISO website because I researched it. But yes, and this is something that, so this is the point. This is where I'm getting to with ISO 20022, a dApp that is built on Algorand or XRP or any other coin that might be able to have a banking function could and probably would use the ISO 20022 syntax. Of course it would, but that has nothing to do with the underlying blockchain. So saying something is compliant is just, it's BS. And Simon says, any chain with a large enough note field is ISO 20022 compliant. Yeah, compliant is a weird word, right? It would be able to use it. I don't know if that means it's compliant. It's just kind of a nonsense phrase. Anyway, I just wanted to explain that for people because I've been trying to think more consciously of like when I talk about this stuff, not to assume knowledge, just because a lot of you guys, especially you guys who comment a lot, like a lot about this stuff. And so there might be people in the audience that are like, and they're not saying anything, but they're like, I don't know what this is. So I want to start like trying to explain. Let's see this, David Chom. Yeah, he's a pioneer in cryptography and privacy-preserving technologies, widely recognized as the inventor of digital cash, which failed. DigiCash was unable to. Here, let's look. We'll do this one. Okay, hold on. Banker DigiCash was unable to grow the company successfully through the expansion of its user base. Chom stated in an interview in 1999 that the DigiCash project, its technology system, entered the market before e-commerce was fully integrated with the internet. So fair enough. I think saying he was Satoshi before he was Satoshi is misleading. Obviously, maybe it's the way that guy worded it, but anyway, well, there we learned something today. Imagine you're trying to, this is so funny though, imagine you're trying to convince someone that they should check out your favorite coin, and when you ask them questions, they insult you. That's going to go really well. I bet that convinced a lot of people to check this out. Inventor of digital cash. That's not the same as being an inventor of Bitcoin, though. He's currently leading the XX network, a completely private, quantum secure, decentralized messaging. And so Anyway, like I said, if you're gonna like show something on my show, hold on a second. Make sure that's set up. If you're gonna show something on my show, give me a compelling reason to check it out. Don't just be like, check this out, bro. So anyway, if you want to import bank statement to the accounting software, the bank statement must be compatible XLM format. ISO provides this compatibility between accounting and the bank. Yeah, that's fine. But it's not, cryptocurrency isn't compliant with ISO 20022. There's no such thing. I mean, you can keep throwing out all these other extraneous scenarios, but you're missing the point. The point is there are people still to this day sharing these 6 cryptocurrencies are ISO 20022 compliant. No, anything that can create software that would be bank messaging would use this syntax. It's just really simple. I think you guys are some of you guys are overcomplicating it. Anyway, let's get to our Algorand segment. Oh no, we might have a kind of a short stream today. Let's see. Yeah, so you guys know how I do these segments. For you guys that don't know, by the way, if you haven't hit the like button already, can you guys hit the like button? I appreciate that a lot. Green Blue says, well, I'm still having a party. Yeah. Perfect. We'll have an ISO 20022 party. Anyway, you guys know the story. When I do these segments, I don't respond to chat unless they're directly relevant. So if you got Algorand stuff, I'll bring it up during the Algorand segment. If it's outside of that, I'll just wait till afterwards. All right, Algorand this week at DevCon announced 2 payment partnerships, and they're both pretty bullish. Now, I've already reported on these earlier in the week, but I want to talk about this because there's been some pushback on these, and I want to put these in context. So let's talk about these 2 payment partnerships and put them in context. Okay, and the first is the Algorand NOAA HQ. This is the first one they talked about, and they're partnering to bring regulated institutional grade payments on chain. So this is pretty enterprise facing. Actually, the other one kind of is too, but in a different way. I'll explain that in a second. Through this integration, Algorand developers gain access to NOAA's regulated payment infrastructure. So this allows organizations across the ecosystem to open virtual bank accounts in USD and Euros, accepting traditional bank payments and settle those funds on chain in a compliant way. In other words, and I think the thing, it took me a little while to get the sense of this. It basically allows like companies to accept payments in other forms of currency in a really fast and secure way versus, the difficulties, the complications of going through like a traditional bank structure. So that's a pretty big deal for Algorand. I think they could probably do a better job explaining these things. You should always, this is the why you should care framework. So we should always give the why you should care framework. Anyway, this was announced at DevCon, which is in Argentina. And it's going on. Algorand had a pretty strong presence there. And then the other one, and I went through these more extensively in my video. The second one, Coinify, which offers crypto payment services for 60,000 plus merchants throughout, I meant to say the world, I said their world. So what does this mean? So I looked into this, and now the main thing is that these are, I hadn't really heard of a lot of the brands except for like Balenciaga. I had heard of, there was one called Philippine, which I looked up. It's like some kind of luxury brand. So I'm guessing these are, well, first off, what does this mean? So this Coinify basically works with merchants and gives them a solution where they can accept crypto payments. And in this case, it would be USDC over Algorand rails, just got added, but they work with these different, like, so it's like a store. Instead of MasterCard, they select crypto payments. And Algorand is one of them. They do 140 million a year. So that, like in crypto, that seems like Seems pretty low actually for 60,000 merchants when you think about that. So I don't know. By the way, I don't know if that means, one thing I just thought about, I don't know if that means 60,000 like companies or 60,000 total like stores. I'm thinking that with that volume, that must mean stores. So anyway, yeah, one of them is Philippine. That's like a luxury brand. I know Balenciaga is one. I did confirm they were the ones that got in trouble for these like really weird ads with like, they had like kids and they had like BDSM stuff. It's really strange. I don't want to get into that too much, but it's just very weird. Um, Sending euros and USD on Algorand permanently benefits node runners. Also, when does the node subsidy taper to zero? That's a good question too. I don't know if we'll be able to get into that on this one, but yeah, they are going down. Cloudy vibes tonight. Can I get 13 cents? We missed out. We about to hit 14. Yeah, it might be going back up. Anyway, going back to those two payments. Now, some people were critical, especially of Coinify. Someone in my comments was really critical of this because they have small follower account, and the last time they tweeted was July, but they don't tweet very much. June, they did a couple in June, in May a little bit. You know, it looks like about 2 to 3 times a month they tweet, but I think that's fine. This isn't really a retail focused organization. This is focused on merchants. Now, could you argue they probably should tweet a little bit more if they're trying to get attention and trying to grow their brand? Yeah, probably, but that to me seems like not that big a deal. Yeah, maybe I should follow them, huh? So the criticism of that is kind of weird, but I do think, 140 million is a pretty low amount to process for that many merchants. So that's like, I don't know how much Algorand is actually going to benefit from this. I think that's fair, but I think people were hoping like CCIT or some of the other big ones that they would be in. I can kind of understand being a little irritated about that. So that's that. I just wanted to talk about that payment section because I think that's interesting. Did I talk about this before? Algorand just signed the first quantum secure transaction with Falcon Shore proof on mainnet. Privacy pumped. Quantum security is next. Stack algo before the world wakes up. I don't know about that part of it, but I do think that's really big. And I think we talked about this as well too, now that I think about that. But I think this is a huge step. Here's John Woods saying, I'll give him a like there, said, very beautiful solution. I remember discussing this last year. The tweak to ensure the account derived from logic sig isn't incidentally a point that satisfies the Edwards curve equation is brain. It's smart. I don't know. Beyond my, I'm telling you, that's beyond my reckon. But yeah, Algorand making a quantum secure transaction. I think we're on the road to being quantum secure, which is awesome. Oh, I went down and set up. Okay, I see what I did. Oh wait, how did we get down here? Okay, something happened with my, what the heck? All right, I'm going to start from the top because I think something got messed up with my bookmarks here, but Falcon Punch, I like it. I like it, green blue. Great news, Algo fam. We made Para better and more reliable. As another update for Para, you can now enjoy better optimized routes from Deflex. You can get fewer errors and failed swaps, and ability to enter refer information on API. We will continue to improve our swap experience to make Para your one-stop shop for everything. So we should be having Para on pretty soon. Shane down Algo saying, hey man, happy Friday. Just drop it in and say, yo, what is up, brother? Thank you. Cloudy says, the more news I hear from Algo, the more I want to get more Algo. Nice. Yeah, so nice to see Para continuing to build. I think they've really taken a strong stance on continuing to improve and not just resting on their laurels. So that's nice to see. Looks like they tagged Transaction Labs in there as well. Here we're talking about liquid off. Oh, they're just mixing up my... Man, why would you do that? Oh. My bookmarks are totally mixed up now. Oh, this is frustrating. Nice job, X. Okay. Well, here we go. So you guys probably know about Monad, which is Coinbase's very first launch, coin launch that they're launching. And Folks Finance is in on this. They're doing the Monad Rush, a full month of incentives, fueling the new Monad markets, starting with 5,000 folks on November 25th. Folks Finance will be one of the first DeFi apps rewarding users on Monad mainnet. That is wild. Crazy. So get ready to farm, folks. It's the first time ever. Very, very interesting. Yeah, I gotta say, Folks is like one of the... I like their approach. I like how Folks has... They're not following me, which is crazy. But anyway, the way Folks has managed to take start on Algorand and then grow to this huge cross-chain platform, I think is just amazing. So awesome for them. Great to see. And so they're getting in on this Monad rush, and I'm hoping there will be a way to get into the Monad thing from Folks. That would be really cool. Nice little on-ramp for Algorand folks. But anyway. Okay, I want to talk about this one because I talked about Alpha. Is Monad just a purple groiper, he says. Pepe is Wolf of Wall Street. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. Anyway, Jerry Chu says, now Jerry Chu is the founder of Lofty, not following me since I since I criticized Lofty. I didn't even really criticize it. I just shared my experience and he got kind of mad. So whatever. Alpha Arcade tweeted this. He said, your alpha returns so far, if you got in on the 5 pre-sale tranches, you're up 1,480% on tranche 1, 953% on tranche 2, and 690% on tranche 3. Now, I just bought it on the market. I bought mine on the market, so I didn't even do the tranches, but I am way up. So Jerry Chu says, look, I'm usually pretty cautiously optimistic about price because it's something that we can't control. I understand that. What I'm pretty proud of is how we designed the tranches. Let's be honest, even if core users and KPIs don't improve from here, and that's unlikely, prices are never going back to those earlier tranche prices. I think that's probably true. So congrats to all holders who got in back then. Profit is essentially locked in for you. It's more a matter of how much you'll make and how much longer you want to hold. Yeah. And I'll tell you what, I think profit's pretty much locked in where I am too. I shouldn't say that. You just never know. But I put in $100 as part of my experiment, $100, and at one point it was worth like $650. I think it was down to like $500. In fact, I can check. Oh, I don't have my phone. I can't check. Wait, yeah, I can. Hold on. Let me just pull this off screen really quick. Won't take long. Just give me a second. Yeah, currently 552.64 is what my $100 of alpha. Now, to be fair, there's also 20,000 alpha, or about $20 worth that came from. It's probably a little more now, but anyway, still doing extremely well. That's like basically $100 worth that turned into 550, and I didn't even get it for price appreciation. By the way, I got it. The reason I bought it is I wanted to test out the USDC payments, because you get a cut of Alpha Arcade, the prediction market's fees for people actually participating in the prediction market. So yeah, I got to say I'm a fan of this and how it's worked out. And I will say I had a weird exchange with one of the developers on there, because he's like, yeah, I mentioned I had this problem where I wasn't able to like function I wasn't able to actually get the rewards to function. So I made a bunch of bets and I wasn't able to claim the rewards and losses for whatever reason. And it was kind of frustrating. It was kind of frustrating that I wasn't able to get those back. So I reached out and said, hey, this isn't working. And he said, well, send me the transaction IDs and we'll get that taken care of. I'm like, okay, fine, but like, what are you going to do in the future? And then I just basically got a salute. So quite the chat going on about ISO 20022. Anyway, I said I've said about ISO 22. I'm done. Let's see what else is. I'm just so annoyed that these got mixed up like this. I don't know how that happened. Anyway, Haystack. So Haystack, of course, is a. You guys are really going crazy on that. Haystack is a sponsor of the channel, of course, and you can trade, you can swap. Easiest way to trade on Algorand, and you can do it. It's a mobile first, mobile focused thing. There's a website you can do that too. Haystack saw over 150,000 volume yesterday, making it our second highest day ever. We also pushed some upgrades to the router, making it more efficient and reliable. This will help win more routes, drive more volume through Deflex and Haystack. Yeah, good to see. That's a look at total volume just climbing as daily volume climbs. And daily volume, if you drew a trend line, it would look something like this, starting to go a little bit parabolic. So good to see. You can get Haystack in the link in my description, and you can start referring it yourself and making some money too. And this is what I was talking about with finite. Markets are down, but I'm still bullish on crypto. ARB bots go burr, and volatility prints fees. Liquidity providers win. I want to know about this ARB bots. Like, I want to know more about this. So this is something I might have to look into. Interesting. Yeah, part of me kind of wonders if I should have stayed in my pool, because I think the fees would be humming along right now, but it's never really that good. So let's see if there's anything else. I'm just so annoyed at how these got mixed up. I think that was it. Yeah, that's all for that. Yeah, this is like, I don't know why this got all messed up, but yeah, it's a big discussion about ISO 20022. I definitely says there is no official certification process or endorsement from ISO for cryptocurrencies under the ISO 20022 standard, which is primarily a messaging framework for financial institutions and systems. It's actually a syntax. It's like the syntax that they use is probably a better. Everyday Algonaut says arbitrage bots are important for the AMM pools to be settled. Anyway, so yeah, that's our Algorand news for today. Probably have some HBAR stuff coming up too. Let's see if I can send this finally. Holy man. I'm going to do this. I'm just going to cancel this. I'll do this after. Oh yeah, that brought my KBPS way up. Catlin Guzman in the chat. What is up, Catlin? Good to see you. All right, I need some water. All right. Hi, Define says, peace, brother. Hope all is well. Thank you. GM, good to see you as well. Yes. Thanks so much, guys. All right, let's see. Yeah, we got those. I think we got that frame rate way up because it was trying to send something and it was taking a lot of bandwidth. I want to cover something that Scott Milker had posted, The Wolf of All Streets, and I think this is really important because I think he makes some points that I think are really important to keep in mind, especially considering what the markets are doing right now and how, frankly, annoying they are. So, Mr. Urdad says hello. What's up? So I want to check this out. Let me go to this. Conviction is cheap until there's skin in the game, he says. And I thought this was so smart. So let's scroll down to story time. I'll get right to the point. So here's this tweet. He said, the line from March that was never retested as support has now been tagged almost to the dollar. That's the 88,000 area I was looking for. Bottom or not, seems like a good long-term buy. It was a simple, self-explanatory post. And to that post, this is what a response I received. It said, not if you factor in this longer term chart. The crazy Bitcoin weekly chart is still on track 40 days later by the right dip JO handshake. So he's saying, so this person posted his own chart, fine, everyone can draw lines however they like, but to claim that buying at 88,000 is a bad idea purely because of his extended chart, to that I responded, so should I not buy 88K just in case we get to 35K? What happens when we get to 40K and bounce and eventually make new highs? If we go to 35K, I will sell my kidneys. There's a specific point he's making, by the way. He's saying you're trying to make these long-term predictions and not buy what is obviously a long-term great buy. I think Bitcoin at 88,000 is going to be a great buy long-term. Now, it depends on what your time horizon is, but I think for Bitcoin, it generally is a good idea to buy long-term. And if it does go to 35K, you can buy more. So keep in mind, this individual has a long habit of commenting under any big account to farm engagement and to troll. And, to be fair, we all, if you want to grow on X, you pretty much have to reply to a lot of people. And so it is what it is. Anyway, this is far from the first time I rarely engage in these things, but this time is different. So I said this, I have an idea. If you don't think I should buy Bitcoin here, then I will give you a guarantee to buy any Bitcoin you are willing to sell me at 75K starting now. 1 Bitcoin a week, we can discuss terms. You take a small loss selling me at 88,000 Bitcoin at 75K, but you take a huge gain selling me 75K and you buy at 35K. In other words, he's setting up a short. So I'm only getting a 13K discount. You're getting a $40,000 premium. If you have a high conviction in your chart and are not just farming engagement, this is a no-brainer. I admit price could go down and could be a terrible idea, but happy to take the bet. Deal. And these were the responses. Apparently, you are great at catching a falling knife. I was showing that what I see on the charts as a better opportunity, but we can circle right back when price is lower at 2026. Buy the dip. By the right dip. Again, he's giving him that opportunity. Says this is an exceptionally weak response, which it is. He's getting, by the way, he's getting ratioed. I don't know if you see that. Well, he's getting more likes, but lower views. Interesting. Yeah, I take that back, actually. I think Wolf is actually ratioing him, but truth cuts the deepest, even deeper than a falling knife. Let's bookmark it and circle back. Put your money where your mouth is. We can all draw 5 boxes on a chart and say, I told you so. You have a setup where you can't be wrong. Convenient. Exactly. So he flooded the thread with charts, and we went back and forth for no real reason, mostly a waste of time. He's missing the point, so let me spell out my thinking. I believe Bitcoin will trade much higher than 88,000. I cannot predict the future and never expect to buy the dead bottom. Totally true, by the way. You get off this idea that you're going to buy the bottom. Just, you start DCAing into where you think the bottom is roughly. Anyway, therefore, I'm buying on my long-term thesis. If the goal is to buy the dead bottom, good luck. 90% chance, I would say higher than 90%, chance you missed the boat even by a few dollars. 88,000 is an incredible long-term entry. If it goes down more, I will continue to buy more. I would love for that 75K to hit as shown on this chart. And if he's sure that price is going lower, he will take the bet. Again, totally true. But Scott just basically trapped him and said, okay, you think this happens, by the way. I got the same thing in 2023 when I bought NVIDIA. I had people telling me I was a total idiot and I was going to lose money. I said, okay, short it then. If you think I'm wrong, just short it. Yeah, if you're so sure it's gonna crash from here, go ahead. And guess what? They didn't short it, and if they had, they would have lost their butt. That was before the stock split, by the way. Just saying. Anyway, the exchange was simple. I pointed out that Bitcoin finally retested the 88,000 level from March, a level it never revisited, and that, bottom or not, it looked like a reasonable long-term buy. The individual jumped in with Doom chart projecting a slow bleed into the mid-30s and framed it as if buying here was irresponsible compared to his long-term view. He has repeatedly trolled my purchases without ever taking a trade to support his view. Exactly. People will say they have conviction, but they won't actually act on it. So the last paragraph I'm going to read here, because I think we get the point. So I took him at his word and offered a real, verifiable bet. If he truly believed 88,000 was a terrible buy because 35K was incoming, I told him I'd happily buy any Bitcoin he wants to sell me at 75K starting now. If his chart is right, he makes 40K per coin risk-free. If he's wrong, I take the downside. Instead of engaging, he immediately backed away, shifted into vague one-liners, and refused even a reduced size version of the bet, which I offered politely and privately. So there you go. You see the point. People can talk all the smack that they want, but unless you're putting real money behind it, doesn't matter. And like I said, I have my own experience with that. People are great at talking and they won't, but not so good at actually getting in. Mr. Erded says hello. What's up? I had a lot of buys at the 80,000 zone. Said green blue, cool. Algo Gary says, by the way, welcome Algo Gary. Says everyone was warned about the end of October anyways. No one pays attention. Catlin says free AI class this weekend. That's cool. Any other details? Bitcoin is not the original protocol. I'll just leave it at that. People never listen. 7 TPS does not work. This is why BTC is going to fork again in a few months. Catlin says, maybe I shared a link, guessing the mod took it off. Maybe you can find a way to sign up. If you Google Generative AI Masterclass and event Sunday. Algo says, I don't believe links are accepted. I didn't even see it pop up. Yeah, I think links aren't on there. Why don't you, hold on. Why don't you DM it to me if you can, or tweet it to me or something. We can share it that way. Apparently I had a lot of requests. All right. Well, anyway, that's my segment on that. I hope you guys found that interesting, but I got one more segment. I do find it funny, like, so with Alpha Arcade, they gave me a badge. They gave me an Alpha Arcade badge. Yet the founder, like, really is not a big fan of me and actually unfollowed me. Yeah, so like I said, Catlin, maybe just chat it to me and on X, and I can take it that way maybe, or tweet it, whatever. All right, I got one more segment for you guys before we go. I'm just gonna take a little break here. You know what I want to pull up? By the way, if you guys don't follow, I think Scott Melker of Wolf of Wall Street, I think he's got a really great daily newsletter. Ooh, we're popping back up. You guys want to see this? Okay, well, if you guys want to Google that, go ahead. Algo Gary says a badge, that's legit. Yeah, they Alpha Arcade offered me a badge. I didn't really know what it meant. I thought maybe it meant free X. Like they were my ex is going to be paid for by them, but no, it's not. And they pay like $50 a month for it. So what it does do is give you a huge boost to your X post. So that's pretty cool. Yeah. So if anyone wants to check out that generative AI mastermind, is it this Outskill one? Must be this one, huh? All right. Well, there it is. If you're interested in that, I guess. I've been using AI a lot, mostly in my. I get some really specific use cases, especially for meeting summaries. It's just I use Notebook LM, which is from Google's Notebook LM. It's awesome. I use it to summarize interviews, and then I really like taking YouTube transcripts and putting it in there, because then I can also, like, if I want to watch a particular part, I can pull it in. Anyway, yeah, everything is what's up the most. World Liberty is leading the charge, followed by that Canton, then artificial intelligence, aerodrome. Yeah, that's it. Says Catlin. Okay, probably because of the reserve. Yeah. Did we get some news on that? That was yesterday. U.S. House bill would allow federal taxes in Bitcoin while aiding U.S. reserve. Oh, interesting. So you could pay in Bitcoin, and then that'll add to the reserve. Would that move the market? I mean, maybe. Green blue size. That's the downside of not having social. Staying in my shell is that I can't find these facts for myself. Green blue says, darn, I sold WorldFi. Shoot. Let's see. Yeah, AI is a really good tool. Okay, so it looks like my Hedera one isn't messed up. That's good. Okay, I'm going to start my last segment, my Hedera segment, and then we'll see what we do from there. But as always, and I know there's more Algorand people than Hedera people, so just keep in mind, if it's not Hedera related, I probably won't address it until after the segment. Well, you guys know that I have done a mea culpa on Hedera's ETF, the Canary HBAR ETF. I did not think it was going to do that well, but it has been doing wonderful. We got some new data around just how well it's actually been doing and compared to the other ETFs. So let's dive in. And the first one is from Kimchi saying, this is on the 19th, so a little far. ETF trading volume, HBAR ETF 1.47 million, XRP 26 million, Sol 53 million, and Litecoin 1.3 million. So HBAR ETF volume very strong. Obviously not doing this as the same as some of these bigger ones like XRP and Sol, but they're just more recognized, and that makes sense. But people still put in a lot of money. You can see the cumulative total is starting to level off a little bit. Daily volume starting to drop a touch, but still staying steady. So nice to see that. This is daily volume, by the way. So he's just been keeping track, updating these every day, and I was surprised, that the volume really took off very, very fast. So interesting to see. We got more HBAR news, however. And this one is from directly from the Hedera Foundation. It's official XLR, the cross-chain interoperability protocol connecting 60 plus major blockchains, including Arbitrum, Solana, and XRLP, is now integrated on Hedera. So another alternative to, looks like another alternative to Chainlink. The main impact is that XLR Bridge plugs Hedera directly into over 60 interconnected systems. User can now transfer assets from other supported chains to Hedera through XLR's infrastructure, expanding their options for cross-chain interactions. By the way, like, I know this isn't our Algorand segment, but Algorand's got to get in on this stuff. It just has to. Anyway, XLR enables programmable cross-chain communication, allowing developers to build applications that span multiple networks. For cross-chain users and developers, this means another pathway for participating in Hedera's growing retail ecosystem. Several Hedera ecosystem projects are already implementing XLR into their platforms. One of those is SaucerSwap Labs, Hedera's leading DEX, which is integrating XLR directly into its UI, making cross-chain transfers more accessible for everyday users. So I think we got some SaucerSwap news coming up, by the way, but that's like the one platform I use on Hedera for sure. Quite a bit, yeah. XLR Bridge going live is the next step in Hedera's growing interoperability infrastructure, with Coral and Squid Router also in the works. It has never been easier to explore Hedera retail ecosystem. When are you going to interview on Genfinity? Yeah, he's got more patience than I do. Even Wendyho chiming in on that. Nice to see. So, yeah, more interoperability solutions. Definitely a good thing. Like I said, something I want to see more of on Algorand as well. But Hedera is definitely taking the lead on this and making sure that happens. Speaking of SaucerSwap, SaucerSwap Wallet for iOS is here. Native HTS support, zero interface fees, polished, audited, and built for production. We are releasing it today via test flight. It's a production build, not beta, but it's probably in test flight because, you know, Apple is just not very crypto friendly. If it's something crypto, it's really, really hard to get it on there. This is a production build, not beta. We have already completed a comprehensive bug bounty. I think I might have tweeted. I think I might have talked about that on a previous episode. No critical or high severity issues were found. All minor findings have been remediated. App is polished and ready for use. We're distilled the core SaucerSwap experience for your phone. Swap HTS bridge tokens, stake on stake sauce, real-time portfolio tracking, etc. Security and safety. All right, so why the limited release? Simply put, we're still waiting on Apple. Just like I said. Oops. We submitted months ago. We are compliant. We have answered every question, but remain stuck in the review queue. We're continuing to push for full App Store approval. Our legal team is working to resolve this, not just for SaucerSwap, but to help establish a clear path for all Hedera DeFi applications. Good God. Anyway, they're opening the internal test flight to the community, 10,000 slots available, which is Apple's limit. It's just crazy. Why? Apple is like one of the most, they're just so frustrating. You know, it's one thing I get, like being careful and making sure it's like all compliant, everything's, you know, all the ducks are in a row, but just like tanking on a review is crazy, in my opinion. Anyway, Catlin is at, well, Zoid Pilot, actually, someone different says, does HBAR go to the 5 to 8 cents range? Catlin says, I'm buying in anything under 10 cents. You know, long term, if you're a long-term holder of HBAR, it might not be a bad idea. Now, my average buy is like 5 cents, so I'm kind of leery of buying over that, since with alts, you know, anything that's not Bitcoin or Ethereum, but we'll see. Yeah, everyone's got to have their own idea. What is the forever mint effect, you may be wondering? Well, Hedera spells it out here. So this is dead pixels, and you can see the volume has just completely skyrocketed in Q3. Pretty impressive. This is the Dead Pixels Ghost Club, which is one of the big, I would say the big NFT projects on Hedera. Pretty impressive stuff, really. By combining the benefits of NFTs with the thrill of continuously opening pack, they solve for both attention and liquidity. I do really like these There's designs. I don't know if you saw the dead pixels. Let's go to media. Yeah, I just kind of dig those. I think they're really cute. They're pretty expensive. I don't know if you looked into them. They're like a couple $100, I think, or something. It's, well, you know, relatively speaking, anyway. Good for them, though. Really, they've really skyrocketed. Well, is this their trading volume, or is this all NFTs? I don't really understand. They need to spell that out. Like, you need a better. This is like a charting crime, is what this is right here. This is a charting crime. You should have this spelled out. I always tell people what they're looking at. And last one, you know, the Cloudflare went down and it took out a whole bunch of systems, including Hashpack. Said we are aware of a Cloudflare outage. This was back on, what day was this? The 18th. It was a Monday. You know, Monday I tried to get into X, and X was down, but so was a lot of other stuff. We are aware of a Cloudflare outage that's affecting core functionalities within the app at the moment. No security concerns identified, and a resolution should be expected within the day. We'll, of course, keep everyone updated as we gather more information. So this was a problem, obviously since been solved, I'm pretty sure. Seems to be slowly resolving, although it could be sporadic on and off during the day. And then, yeah, here later on it says, yeah, back to normal, although it could be sporadic. So I think it did, yeah, Clippy. Yeah, so if your Hashpack went down, that's why. You probably were aware of this, but it did affect a lot of stuff in crypto. Well, not necessarily the blockchain itself, but the dApps built on blockchain. So, well, that is the end of my Hedera segment, but thanks for tuning into that, and a nice little audience going on here. I gotta tell you, I'm really toast. A lot of people saying that they're buying under 10 cents with HBAR, and I can kind of understand that. I don't know if we're gonna hit that. We'll see. Hard to say. You know, it's pumping up right now, but that could just be what they call a dead cat bounce, and it could go back down. You just really don't know. Eleanor Terra, do you want to watch? Well, yeah, it's getting close to 11. Green Blue says, after 1,200 spins, I finally won 5 cents. Yeah, I can't even do it anymore. It doesn't. I don't think it works on. I have such an old iPhone that I don't think it works on there anymore. I've been wanting to get a new iPhone, but this is a very expensive time of year, so we'll see. Yeah, not much has changed since before our segment on crypto. You guys want to watch? We can watch this segment for a little bit.
For real clarity for crypto builders and founders.
Mm-hmm. Colin, we have this up on the screen right now. Nice, catchy Christmas crypto Christmas wish list. Wow, I cannot speak today. That's a mouthful. A good alliteration, though.
I think for us, tax clarity is critical. These are changes that if we put them in now could take effect in the 2026 tax year, which would allow for folks to completely change their investment theses for 2026 in regards to staked assets. These are changes. These were some of the few low-hanging fruit changes that the Gensler Biden administration put in place that hamstrung staked assets that we would be able to immediately unlock to allow for people to be taxed at sale of assets instead of receipt of staking rewards. It would also allow us to make the argument that these should be treated as newly created property and not ordinary income. The other items on the wish list are incredibly important as well. I think we look at developer protections in market structure is critically important, but
yeah, by the way, I was really hoping that the regulatory clarity would have come before the end of the year, so it counted for next year's tax season. So that's a little bit frustrating.
Administration, the DOJ, a range of we're really throwing the kitchen sink at making sure that Roman Storm is not unjustly prosecuted as he has been. And so we put that in there. We want to bring this to the administration's attention that this is unjust, that this needs to be worked on, and that the president himself should be aware as the
Hey, Caitlin, thanks for becoming a member. That's awesome. Welcome to the Frugalnauts. Appreciate it.
as the process continues and potentially insert himself where that's important.
Yeah. So, Colin, you mentioned kind of the kitchen sink approach that you guys had here. I think obviously Ellie mentioned that there were more than 60 projects that signed on. Say Labs was happy to be involved in this as well. But the issues that you're putting out there, I think, are incredibly important. And you guys, as Solana Policy Institute, have kind of a unique perspective.
Algo Gary, are you saying that they gotta do some more printing before they pass that? I'm not really sure why that would be the case, or I'm not really sure what your comment means.
In terms of the cat herding and consensus building around these sort of like 60 projects, do you see enough of a kind of a unified front on these issues that it makes that easy for you, or do you still think that there's sort of a lot of things maybe outside or even within this issue list that some in the industry are kind of interpreting differently? Like how do you view sort of that? Yeah.
I think there's broad unity among the industry, particularly among the 60 plus signatories on this letter, that these things need to happen. Some issues don't affect other projects, but I think we all work together to express in one voice that these are the things the broader industry needs. A rising tide lifts all boats, and I think everyone understands that. You'll see anybody from, DeFi exchanges to groups like Solana Policy Institute to the trade associations themselves. We got all three on board. There might be 60 signatories, but having those three trade associations indicates that we have whole of industry support for this list, and we want to make sure that the White House is appreciating that, along with Congress supporting those.
Colin, I'm curious. We see a lot of industry letters to the administration, right? To Treasury, to the IRS, to the White House. Do you guys ever get a response? Like, what's kind of the process here? I'm curious. I don't think I've ever asked that question. So I'm just curious to know, like, do you get like a receipt saying like, hey, we got it? Or like how do you know that your letter was received and that the administration, is taking it seriously?
Checking the list.
Checking the list, right?
I think if you ask crypto at the beginning of the year what its wish list for the administration was, there are a range of things that we got done. And we checked those things off. You see wins like Genius, bipartisan, led by the White House with folks like Bo Hines and Patrick Witt pushing and leading the way. You saw the broker rule CRA, where we were able to get that onto the president's desk and signed to give real clarity to actors in the DeFi space. Looking at a letter like this is really a door opener. This is an opportunity for the administration to invite us in to have a conversation, for us to ask to have a conversation with the administration, and really serves as a great first piece of paper to kind of start having conversations with the people that are able to implement these changes. Obviously, we will be looking down it and seeing what we can accomplish before the end of the year. Top of our list at SPI is a staking tax. So we'll be having conversations with the people over at the Office of Tax Policy, at the IRS, and within the administration to make sure that those priorities are moved forward. And I'm sure the range of other individuals and organizations that are listed on that letter can take the issue that they care about and use that letter as an opportunity to open the door with the administration and begin the conversations they need to have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also, I would love to know from your perspective, kind of like the vantage point from Solana Policy Institute, like what would a truly innovation-friendly U.S. regulatory environment look like over the next 2 to 3 years? We talked about how like this past year has been such tremendous growth and like the kind of evolution of like what we wanted at the beginning of the year to where we are now. But then what kind of looks like the next step forward?
I think from a regulatory perspective, it's more of the same. It is a continuation of the great work the SEC and the CFTC have done with Project Crypto and with the CFTC's push. Continuing those and fully supporting those with a whole of government approach is going to be a winning strategy for crypto for the next 2 to 3 years. Obviously, Genius is unlocking a ton of different rulemakings that are in need to occur. I think the administration continuing its open door policy with the industry is going to be a winning strategy and unlock incredible value in the United States and further encourage projects that may have moved abroad to come back home.
I'm curious, Colin. Yeah, really appreciate you hopping on today, and definitely again applaud the efforts of getting the letter together. We are, of course, big fans of tax clarity and clarity around staking in particular. I know we've been looking for ways to work some of this into legislation, and they just don't seem like they've been coming up. Right? You mentioned there have been great wins, like the DeFi broker rule. A lot of that seems to come from, and a lot of the content of the letter seems to come from looking for IRS guidance. Do you think at this point there's a path forward on including some of this language in a bill, or do you think like the main avenue we have right now is definitely just going through the IRS for regulatory clarity?
I think we can get immediate fixes that unlock for the 2026 tax year, which is, potentially hundreds of millions of dollars in, benefit to tax clarity. I think specifically around standalone crypto tax legislation, there's incredible work being done by the Miller and Lummis offices, as well as Daines in the Senate, on getting a bill together that would package up a ton of our top priorities, some of which are listed in the letter, and passing it in one standalone package. One of the benefits of getting IRS guidance done is when you make IRS guidance, it becomes standing law. In the Senate, in the House and the Senate, when you want to write a crypto or a tax bill, that bill is scored by the Joint Committee on Taxation using the impact as opposed to standing law. So if we allow the IRS to establish guidance, it will minimize any of the costs that we might see that staking would have from a JCT perspective. Doing the guidance streamlines the process for getting a bill done and for including staking tax in its full and correct treatment.
Great. Well, Colin, thank you so much for coming on and explaining all that to us. And we hope you get your Christmas wish. And we'll check back in with you. We'll check back in with you soon.
Yes.
Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, appreciate it. Good to see you.
Okay, well, I think that was fun to tune into. I always like to spend a little time just watching watching her show. She usually has some pretty interesting guests on. And otherwise, thanks so much, guys, for tuning in.